Gabriela on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. We have a real treat for you just around the corner, and that is Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. Jeff is the owner of Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and he will be coming to you weekly to teach you more about empowered living.
Hello and welcome. This is Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and this is Empowered Living. Today's topic is something that's been on my heart. It's growing more and more, and it is creating personal transformation in me, and I'm seeing it create transformation in the world around me. It is the subject of leading with vulnerability. Vulnerability. It sounds like a scary word. It's scary for us to think about modeling that and being open and being honest. Yet, that's where all the growth, that's where all the relationships, that's where all the real leadership comes from. Somebody said recently, they were quoting John Maxwell, and he says that everything rises and falls on leadership. And they said, well, hey, leadership rises and falls on values, and values rise and fall and affect the relationships that we have, how much we conform to them and hold them up and do them. It's one thing to talk about them. It's another thing to do them. The other is to be vulnerable about where we really are in relationship to them and hold ourselves accountable and be honest with people and then transform, decide and determine that we're going to get better in those areas of those values that we're not so good about. And we're going to be honest with it. And that's what the vulnerability is. Patrick Lencioni, he's an author and a speaker and a leadership development person. He said that people will walk through fire for a leader that's true and human. And that's not just a leader in an organization. That's a leader in life. It can be a leader in your family. It can be a leader with yourself. It can be a leader with anybody, any group that you're in, whether or not there's a title and an appointed leader or not. The person who is truest and human will be the leader of the group. They'll be leading others in a more whole, honest, sincere, value-adding way. And I wanted to tell you a story that kind of drives this home. Last week, I was going to a local organization, and they had all done their Maxwell method of DISC personality assessments. So it's just a version of the DISC. It's a very good version of the DISC, I might add, but it's a version of the DISC. And one of the things I wanted to call attention to is under each personality type, they give a list of what your traits are, and there's lots and lots of good things. But under the weaknesses, it has an item that says overuses. Okay, so I'm an IDC, and that's a leader profile, but my overuse is impatience. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of not surprised about that. And I was reviewing my own in preparation for going and doing a group training and debrief on it. And I thought, well, you know what? I want to lead with vulnerability. I don't want to just call other people to be honest about their area of overuse if I'm not doing it myself. So I'm going to be really honest about this, and I'm going to do something very vulnerable. So I went to my wife. She was out back working on some things, and I went out to her, and I said, sweetie, can I ask you a question? And she was in the middle of something, and I didn't want to interrupt, so I looked around the garden for a minute. And she got done, and I came over, and I said, I really want to lead tomorrow during this training by being very vulnerable and honest. And it says here on my DISC report, it says that my overuse is impatience. And I said, do you mind telling me, how does it make you feel when I'm impatient? You can hear the train coming, right? Okay, so I got out my pen and I wrote several lines. And she said, when you're impatient, it makes me feel anxious. It makes me feel inadequate. It makes me feel like you're smarter and faster than me. It makes me feel slow. And then the feelings that I have coupled with, feeling slow, that doesn't help me speed up to get where you want to get to more quickly. That actually hinders the process because now I'm having to process this feeling of being slow, right? She said it exacerbates my fears, and it makes me feel like my tasks aren't as important as yours or that they're a priority. And it also makes me feel annoyed. And I was like, wow, that's that's good. And it's like, well, I'm glad I asked that question because I need to know those things. And those things are things that have been there for a while. I just never was open enough to ask the question and to receive the answer. And it occurs to me, the people around us, they already know what our weakness is a lot of times. They already know how it impacts them. It's just they're not open to share it, and we never ask. So it just goes kind of unnoticed and swept under the rug and under the carpet. Now, the conversation, it wasn't all bad because I'm not always impatient. And I really, and I'm working, and even more so now, towards not being impatient. If it's take some time, give some space, do whatever it needs to be to think into that and to be at a place where I'm not as impatient, or where maybe on rare occasions I'm actually patient. And she said something amazing. She finished the conversation with something very positive. She said, I'm actually becoming more open because of your openness. She said, in the past, I didn't like having some of the discussions that you love having, because you're dealing with it. You're talking about issues, so and you're all happy about it. You're trying to find resolution to move forward. She said, in the past, if I had conversations like that, I would be put down and condemned and just feel bad. And that's why I have not been as open to having them. But when I see your joy, and when you ended up and go, wow, I'm glad we had this conversation. This is so great. Wow, we're much clearer and much more on the same page than we were before, and have a much better idea of where we're headed and what to do. She said, when I see you do that, I go, oh, wow, this was healthy conflict. We had a conversation about something, and we might not have seen eye to eye going into it, but we came out really learning things, and it was valuable. And she really appreciates that. So I was glad that she shared that sometimes going into something and being vulnerable, you can get to some good stuff that really helps you move forward better. So that's the story that I have to share of my one of my most recent vulnerabilities, and I think that's so important, is just to say the thing, to be able to say the thing that's really happening. So in this case, the value, it's like a plumb line. A builder holds up a plumb line to make sure that the walls and the door frames and everything are in alignment with a perfect straight that's based on gravity. So it's like a plumb line, and those character values are so important, all of these values, because if I really look at them, and then if I honestly evaluate myself or ask for help evaluating myself, hey, where do you really see me on this? If I'm open with that, I'm speaking what's really occurring. I'm speaking the same thing. Guess what? The word for confession means to speak sameness. So all we're asked to do, it's no big religious thing or whatever else. It's just going, oh, wow, what's the value at stake here, and where am I honestly in relationship to it? And then just admit that, and then go, okay, what am I going to do to move more into the direction of wholeness and being closer to the good side of being on track with that value? And this applies to many, many things in life. But I want to give you a couple of thoughts here about becoming vulnerable. And the first one is that our goal with this is not to impress others with our success, but to impact them with our honesty and humanness. I heard a man, it was John Maxwell, and he was at a conference one time, and he was asked to speak, and he was up last. And everybody else got up there, and it sounded like they were just giving themselves an award ceremony. Everybody talked about their successes and all their achievements and everything great that he had done. And as he listened to more and more of this, he was like, okay, what the audience needs to hear isn't more success stories. They're just going to feel like failures by relationship to them. They need to hear about all the troubles I've had and the mistakes I've made and the lessons I've learned. And so when his turn to get up there came, he got up in front of the people and he said, listen, I just want to tell you about the struggles I've had, the difficulties I've been up against, the mistakes I've made, and the things I've learned from it. And he said that when he got done with that, he had people write him, he had people order copies of it and listen to it over and over. And they said to him, you have no idea how much hope that gave me. The fact that you got where you are and are still moving forward, and you made so many mistakes, and you're so honest about them, and you're so humble about them. That gives me so much hope that in spite of all my mistakes, I can be open and humble about that and still move forward. And That's just gold. That's just gold, they told him. So being honest about that can really encourage people. The second thing is that our goal as leaders, and again, this can be of ourselves, of our families, of any group of people that we're in, or even alone, but our goal is not to call others out. It's to hold ourselves accountable. It's to call ourselves out first, and then to be honest about what we did, and then that's going to give others permission to do that, right? That's the second thing. The third thing is that learning to model telling the truth will capture other people's hearts and show them it's okay to tell the truth, right? A friend of mine was in AA back some time ago, and she told me, she said, we teach in AA and we learn in AA that we should never compare our internal reality to somebody else's outward appearance. And that impacted me. I thought, wow, that's good, not just for AA, but for every single one of us. Because when we go around and we're not super honest and vulnerable, what it shows others is, hey, oh, wow, this is what success looks like. It looks like all those great pictures on Facebook. It looks like all of these. This guy just wins all the time. And then what people feel like, you might be sharing your A+, the thing you did that got you an A+ grade, but what it makes other people feel like is that they're getting an F-. They're not like, oh, wow, that's so great for you. They're like, oh, my gosh, boy, I'm not doing anything. I'm just so worthless here, right? So it models to them that it's okay to tell the truth. And then when they start going, oh, wow, yeah, this is really where I'm at. Hey, you've been through this. Can you help me with this? Do you have any ideas, any suggestions? Then you can help, right? Then you can share something that helps them go, oh, it's okay to be where I am. And hey, I've got hope to move forward. You did it, and so can I. So we model a learning and a growth pattern for them. The fourth thing is that, and this is more in organizational leadership, but it can be with other people too. And this is when we come to the table, our primary objective is not to come as a subject matter expert, but as being exceedingly human and open. I've realized this recently, and it's not that I don't want to know things and understand things and be good at things and be good at what I do. I absolutely do. But I'm not going there to impress people with how great I am as a subject matter expert. I'm going there to be super honest and human with them. And that connects with them. And then I can teach from there, or I can train or ask questions or whatever it is I'm there to do. But that's how I'm coming to the table, as exceedingly human and open. And let me tell you, from my personal experience, this is a paradigm shift. This takes some doing. This takes a little work and a little bit of practice, because we're so title oriented, we're education oriented, we're title oriented, we're all of this oriented, and we're always trying to impress others. And to get that job, we want to be impressive. And coming there as a really open human, that's different. That's kind of against the cultural norm, and so it takes a little bit of doing. So let's be patient with ourselves while we learn to do this. Speaking of jobs, that reminds me, I have a friend that works in human services, and she told me that a while back they were hiring for a position, and they had all these candidates to come in and to interview, and she was on the interviewing panel, and everybody came in, and they said what you would expect them to say. Oh, yeah, I'm great at this. Oh, yeah, I love this. Oh, yeah, this is good. Oh, yeah, I'll do very well in this. But there was one guy that came in, and they got to one of the questions, and he said, well, honestly, this is my weak area. I'm not really very good at this, and usually I have to get some help with it, or I really have to work to make this succeed. And she said, I was so impressed with that. Everybody else just said what I would expect them to say, but he said what I did not expect him to say, and that's who I cast my vote for the job, because he was real and human. And then the last thing, and this has been a new concept to me that somebody else shared with me. Dawn Yoder with Global Priority Solutions shared this the other day on a training I was in, and she said that when we hold others accountable, they feel judged, but when we hold ourselves accountable, transformation happens. What we do is we don't tell them, oh, you're no good at this, because then they feel like we're judging them. What we do is we go, okay, here's the value. Here's what it looks like. And where do you rate yourself? Here's where I rate myself. Yeah, patience. Yeah, not really good at that. Maybe I'm a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10. And let me pick some times coming up this week that I'm going to make it a pointed effort to be better at patience and to hold my tongue and to go, okay, it's okay. We're going to get there regardless of if we're going at my pace. Let me go at somebody else's pace and love them and care for them and be open and vulnerable with them while I'm doing it. If I hold them accountable, they feel judged. If I hold myself accountable and they see the transformation happen as I move closer to that value, they're going to have the openness and the ability to, they're going to see it modeled and they're going to have it and give themselves permission to do the same thing. And that's how growth happens in a community. So I hope that this has been helpful to you. Boy, it's becoming life-changing for me. I very much appreciate you tuning in today. And my goal is to be vulnerable. And that's one of the things I'm working on all the time. And I hope that you both see the value of it and see the heart connection that it can give. And hey, you might want to even try out the same thing I did. Maybe you don't have the disc report right in front of you. Of course, I can help you with that if you want to. But maybe just go to a family member and go, hey, what do you see as my biggest weakness? How does that impact you? Okay, be ready to do some writing because they're going to tell you what's been happening for a long time probably. So be ready. And then when they do that, don't argue with them. It's hard not to do, but try your best not to do it and just to listen to them and thank them for sharing. And then think about that and think about ways to improve. Okay, thanks so much for joining me. I'm Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching. My email is jeff@jeffbyrdcoaching.com, and Byrd is with a Y. It's JEFF@JEFFBYRDCOACHING.com. Jeff@jeffbyrdcoaching.com. So please feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. And thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day. Till next time, God bless you.